Hey, I'm back, and I got another little knife niblet for you. This is the Spyderco Native Chief, and yeah, it's a native, and it's big. It's yeah, I mean, technically with the choil, you got an actual full 4-inch blade going on there. That probably gives you a good indication of my hand size. So yeah, this guy has basically a lot of the ergonomic features of the standard native. This guy is not a lightweight model. It's got G10, and there's absolutely no liners in there whatsoever. You just got a back spacer that also kind of cages in the back lock there. And this guy, not being an Delica or Endura, doesn't have the boy dent on the back lock, but it's nowhere really near where I would curl my hand to hit that like some people might have on the really old Delicas and Enduras. This guy's got the full forward choil. And while I would like a little bit of a sharpening choil, Spyderco really just, that's not their jam. They just don't do that on any of their models. But I do like how much space they actually give you. You're not just right up against the blade. That actually gives me a lot more confidence if I want to use that forward choil. Unfortunately, where this jimping is, it works perfectly fine for me, if I'm using that standard grip, but kind of pinching up, I want my thumb to actually go forward where there isn't any jimping going on there. Having it back there just feels weird and awkward, like I'm shoving my thumbs back, almost like I'm trying to use the D-pad on a Nintendo 3DS. I don't know, they put that way too far out to the edge of it, so it feels really weird and kind of constrained on my thumbs. Same kind of thing goes on here, but yeah, it's got a little bit of contouring there, but otherwise you got those flat G10 slabs like the military models, military, paramilitary 2, para 3. I hate that they all technically have completely different names, even though they're all in the same family. A little annoying. And this guy's got, some T8 screws here and there for the pivot and some of those. But it does have a pin going through for the actual kind of fulcrum point of the back lock. So I really wouldn't suggest taking this thing apart. For one, backlocks can be a giant pain in the ass anyway. I'd learned that very much firsthand with my first Endura 4. Once they, finally stopped pinning those together and added the screws, and I was like, oh, neat, so I can take it apart. And I did, and whoo, that took me quite a while sitting there working on the cutlery shop. Just kind of concentrating because, well, I didn't really have internet access or anything to try and figure out how to actually put my knife back together. It was a little difficult. I'm a little bit better at it now, but yeah, I do like kind of the lanyard hole kind of thing that they got going on through there. It does go through the clip, which to me is slightly worrisome because I have actually broken some Spyderco clips in the past, but that's working in a very cramped warehouse, and it's actually caught the pocket clip on some boxes as I'm, trying to move full force to the other side of the room or whatnot. So yeah, under, extreme circumstances. But yeah, and I do, in general, I really do like the Spyderco spoon clip. I know a lot of people are like, yeah, it's really old fashioned, but well, I mean, it certainly beats the pants off of the original Spyderco clippets that they had the plastic or FRN handles, and then the clip was literally molded on. So once you broke that, well, that was it. But hey, pocket clips had to start somewhere, and that's where they did. So, so yeah, this guy's pretty darn interesting. Obviously, you got that full flat grind on there. This is S30V, so, even though it's a newer model, not really reinventing the wheel. And it's probably because Spyderco has, I don't know, probably several million tons of S30V, which is why even more and more of their brand new models are using it rather than S35 or S45. They'll do those in sprint runs, but when it comes to an actual production model, I think they just have so much S30V left that they're just going to be using that for a very, very long time. Yeah, something kind of interesting is the jimping on it actually goes up to the end of the backlock there. So it meets up, and unless you're really, really, really trying to find it, then it's pretty darn seamless, which is pretty darn cool. I do like that kind of touch. It seems a little bit more like a touch that some of their lion steel, Italian-made kind of knives would have, just a little extra touch here and there. I do like that it's nice and thin. It's, well, let's see. Let's slap it up against the Para 2 here, and it's a little bit thinner. Not by much, but just a little tiny bit. This being a backlock, you can do the Spidey flick, but you really do have to give some wrist motion to it. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. It's just not the way the backlocks are really done. Probably why no one's really ever bothered to make backlocks with ball bearings in the pivot or anything, because, well, you're dealing with something that's applying a lot of tension onto that blade. So why would it exactly matter? But yeah, I have kind of opened this guy up because I was curious, or at least tried to for the most part. That pen's kind of a pain in the butt to do, so I'm not going to actually remove them. But it does have phosphor bronze washers in there. It's nothing super cheap like little nylon flimsy guys. And yeah, I really do like the peel ply texture that Spyderco puts on their knives. I do kind of miss that texture on my original Manix 2, because at least the pocket clip side is worn. It has texture, but no grip left. It's just nice and shiny and whatnot. But I have kind of worn that pretty much every day since pretty close to when I got it back in man, I don't remember off the top of my head. I know when I got it, it was fairly new, but not brand new. So I think I got it like the year after it was first released. But yeah, and that turned out to be a super, super awesome knife. This one, much thinner packaging, obviously. And yeah, I really do enjoy this thing quite a bit. You have a really long blade length going on there. Like I said, with the choil, you got basically 4 inches going on there. And I don't have the best edge in the world on this. I did kind of, yeah, you can see some KME rash from me kind of learning the sharpening process on that. Little unfortunate, but it doesn't really get me down all that much because I use my knives. I don't really have any safe queens or anything. But yeah, you can see that this was obviously a Sawglasser design, but Eric, there we go. It helps if you can actually see that. But Eric did this specific revision on it. I have in the past had a standard, what they would call now a lightweight native. A friend of mine for a long, long time picked it up because she found it at a really cheap price. And I carried that for quite a while. The pocket clips on those natives, I was never a fan of. They were the ones that had they were a hub. They had just basically like a giant screw that had a crosshatch in it that you were supposed to tighten or loosen with a dime. And between me not really having a whole lot of thread locker at the time and whatnot, yeah, it was a struggle trying to keep the pocket clip around. It just wanted to disappear at any moment's notice. But I really did like that design. And this literally just kind of stretches it out a little bit, which is pretty interesting. Like I said, you got a lot of reach there. It's got the forward choil because, well, almost all of, well, everything in the native family does. I don't think it's super necessary here. You have enough reach that, and you're already basically getting that whole 4-inch blade. And with the jimping not really meeting up with it, and heck, I got quite large hands, and I'm still getting quite a bit there out of the back. I just don't think it was perfectly necessary here. But with their whole design philosophy of the Native series, then I suppose it makes sense. I do really like this guy. It's a nice slim carry, as long as I really, really want a long but still leaf-shaped blade. Like, I do have other long, stabby kind of knives, but yeah. I do really appreciate the fact that this is a 4-way pocket clip kind of thing going on here. So lefties, righties, anything in between is perfectly at home. And yeah. Well, those are basically my thoughts here on the Native Chief. One thing that I will say kind of as a parting thing is these guys, along with a lot of other Spydercos, really went up in price compared to what I was even used to selling them at retail. I know they've done that a few times over the years, and yeah, it's partly due to inflation and wanting to be able to actually pay their workers fair wages and all sorts of other stuff like that. But yeah, like I think I paid like 156 for this guy, which it's neat, but when you can generally find the I guess, like, you know, the standard, which is now the lightweight Native 5 for, well, my friend who got it for me said she got it for around 45 bucks. I think maybe they were selling them at Walmart for quite a bit there because they wanted a US made knife. But yeah, it just seems like these guys are really overvalued. But I think it probably comes from the fact that I think every version of the PM2 and the Para 3 are just overvalued. Like, man, this guy paid over $200 for. And yes, it is a not a sprint run, but a dealer exclusive, but only one set was going to be made. So it might as well have been a sprint run. But I mean, the standard ones are still like well over $150, and it's a neat design. A lot of people really love it, but I don't really think it's all that much value for money these days, which is something that I really appreciated with Spyderco back in the day. Was they offered a lot of value for what you were getting, and they were really willing to deal with a lot of exotic steels, which, I mean, at this point, S30V isn't exotic, but yes, they do all sorts of different stuff. You know, S90V, S110V. I think they've done a couple of fixed blades with 3V. Obviously, this is crew wear. Maximate, you know, I mean, they do all sorts of stuff. And usually, their heat treat is super on point. The exception to that, as I've had a video out in the past, was this dealer exclusive, which is my Manix 2 in M4. And this guy is basically cutting at the level of 12C27 or 440C, right around in that kind of area, which is unfortunate. And, I certainly have no doubt that this is actually M4. It just kind of means that this particular sample and or this set of blades had a bad heat treat. That comes into kind of another trouble that you end up having with something like Spyderco, having so many dealer exclusives and sprint runs and whatnot, is if you do end up with something like that, for one, that's not covered under warranty. They're like, it's a knife. It still cuts, right? Sure. But even if they did offer kind of a return replacement sort of thing, they can't do that with anything because they immediately sell out of whatever it is. So, in that way, with all these sprint runs, you really don't have much in the way of actual warranty on them. They might warranty, the fact that, hey, like I was, trying to cut through some bubble wrap and the blade snapped in half or something like that, then sure. But they will probably end up giving you the ability to trade it out with something of equal value, which probably isn't what you wanted since you specifically bought that sort of thing. So, I don't know. I know a lot of people, including myself, obviously, have frustrations about companies doing a lot of sprint runs and whatnot. But that's kind of my recent take, especially with that Manix 2XL, where I'm like, neat, it was a great knife. I spent a lot of money on that thing, like $150-something, for a knife that performs much worse than the original model that I don't really know how much they actually go for now. I paid $102 for mine, but like I said, it was right around when it first came out. And that's unfortunate because I don't really have much in the way of recourse on that. It's just, it sucks. That knife's kind of meh. So, so it sits away now. I've gone back to carrying my standard S30V variant because, well, I've had it around. It's been trustworthy, and I know that it cuts. So that's the way that I roll with that. Alrighty. Well, I didn't really want to get into a whole Spyderco sprint run dealer exclusive kind of rant, but I guess it just kind of came out at me. So I suppose I apologize for that. I guess I also apologize if I got some crud on my fingernails. I've been actually trying to polish up a piece of my silverware, even though these guys in particular, the knives, aren't silver, but the rest of the set was. This guy got incredibly tarnished, and that was absolutely my fault. I was doing some titanium anodizing, and I wasn't paying attention to which side was what, and I plugged it in backwards, so it sucked a lot of the ions directly onto the non-stainless portion, or the handle of this, and whew! So yeah, I've hit it up with some not steel wool, but Scotch-Brite, that's the stuff I'm talking about. And that's helped quite a bit, but I still do need to go over it with some fine Scotch-Brite. I have some actual like Dremel wheels of different Scotch-Brite things, so I'll be able to get into the detailing on that. And yeah, then I can actually go back to spreading peanut butter and whatnot with these guys. So that'll be great. So I apologize if I got some crap on my fingers. I've tried scrubbing them, but sometimes corrosion really takes a hold on you. All right. Well, anyway, this was kind of me talking about the Spyderco Native Chief and S30V. As always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo.